have saved one of the best sessions for last because you are going to get an exclusive global preview of an incredible new report that goes into whether we are seeing true gender parity here in the Middle East. So I'm so happy that you stayed. There's a lot to cover here, and it's quite incredible. And to do it all for us, I have got with me Anne-Laure Malauzat. She is partner with Bain and Company Middle East, based in Dubai. She is the firm's regional chief diversity, equity, and inclusion officer. She's leading Bain's social impact efforts in Europe, the Middle East, and the Africa regions. She's also one of the authors of this landmark new report. The official launch is tomorrow in Dubai. She has flown in just for us. She's getting out straight after this session, and she's giving us a sneak preview. Please take it away, Anne-Laure.
Thank you so much, Sally. Thank you all. Salam alaikum. Lovely to have you here with us, and thank you for your time. I'm going to try to give you 1 year of research in 3 minutes to get you excited and curious about the work that we did. So, you know, a couple of years ago, we were looking at the research landscape on women in the workforce, and we found that there really wasn't much data behind the representation, the integration of women, and we were seeing so much progress and excitement, but not really a lot of numbers. So we started a piece of research, and these are some of the findings we came across. Now, I'll start with the things you all know. We know the last decade has brought in transformation in the region. If we look just at Qatar, the UAE, and Saudi, we have beat records in terms of women's participation in the labor force. If we take just a look at Saudi, since we're in Riyadh, the target was to have 30% by 2030. We just beat 37% 2 months ago. So it's very inspiring, Saraha, and what a transformation that is led, you know, by the leadership around this topic. But, oops, sorry, I don't know what I pressed. Here we go. But we still have work to do. If you look at the numbers here, this is women in leadership. Women board members in the GCC average about 6% versus the global average of 20%. What makes us really special in the region is if we look at family businesses, we're actually double the global average. So we have a lot of women who are board members in family businesses. But there's still work to do across other organizations, and you see the same when you look at CEOs of leading publicly listed companies. There's some in the UAE, but still quite a bit of work to do in Saudi and Qatar. So what we did is spent a year surveying 25 of the largest GCC organizations, covering 200,000 employees. We surveyed and spoke to 50 of the biggest female leaders in the region. And we also surveyed male and female professionals, about 1,200 of them. And here's what we found. The first point is we wanted to break the bias and make sure, you know, we really recognize the huge progress that has come. The first news is, unfortunately, we see, and this is common globally, that there still is a strong bias in the workplace, regardless of the country you take. And by the way, we've done that research in 25 other countries, including Europe and the US, and it's exactly the same. So it's not just a regional specificity, but biases still really permeate the workplace. We had deputy ministers, deputy CEOs and CEOs, women telling us, there's some meetings where I can't go because it's all men, it's in the evening, I don't feel comfortable. These are real day-to-day situations that our female leaders are also facing. And they're still there. However, we've seen, you know, a lot of change happening as well. If I take you quickly through the main tipping point we find, when does change really start to happen in an organization? When you have 30% of women in the organization. That's when change happens. And if it's 30% in the leadership team, that's even better. Khalas, your organization is transformed just naturally through representation. So that was one of the findings. But beyond, you know, having this tipping point, having more women, why do we keep talking about this? Because it makes business sense. It's not just proven at a global level that having diverse teams actually leads to better business results. We have proof from the GCC that organizations in the region have more productivity when women are in a team, and that the teams tend to be higher performing when there are women in the team. So it's shown also to make business sense beyond being the right thing to do. So if we look at how organizations can create change, based on our experience globally, we've identified 5 main types of practices that organizations can invest in to truly transform and prioritize gender equity. The sad thing is, if you look at this, it starts with strategy, culture, talent, compensation, and benefits. Less than 35% of the organizations that we worked with during this research, and these are the top leadership, top organizations in the region, a lot of them homegrown, incredible organizations, less than 35% of them actually had a formal gender equity strategy. So it's still early days. However, very, very positive days ahead, because what we found, and this is maybe the last thing I'll leave you with before I talk to our lovely Sally here, is that there's 3 levels of maturity when it comes to companies and organizations on their gender equity journey. You have the emerging adopters. Those are the ones that are just getting started, just starting to think about gender equity. How do I attract women and make sure they're integrated in the right way within my organization? Because yes, we have these amazing numbers of 37% and above 30% and sometimes higher, but women also tend to change jobs very often. So how do I make them stick around and become leaders in the organization? 50% of GCC organizations are there today. Then we have determined learners. Those are the ones that have started putting heavy investment in the gender equity strategy. Actually, often, they have, gender equity goals that have been set. They have percentages that they're targeting, and they've invested in practices and policies which are flexible for women. But they don't have yet dedicated resources. They don't have teams that are dedicated to making this happen and making this a priority. 40% of our GCC organizations are there. The last category are the trailblazers. Those are not just regional trailblazers, those are global trailblazers. They're doing pioneering things at a global level. And I'm really proud to say a lot of them are homegrown, not multinationals, but actually companies from the region that are doing gender equity in a way that reflects the context, cultural, social context here. Not trying to mimic anyone, really setting standards in a way that fits the culture of the region. 10% of GCC organizations are there. Those are the serious ones. They have dedicated teams, dedicated resources. And we have behind all of these examples very clear practices and toolkits to help organizations know, how do I move from one to the next? And actually, which companies here versus here? So we're excited, hopefully, with the launch of the report that's happening this week to share more about this. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you, Anne. This is incredible research that you guys have done. And in the last few minutes of our session, let's delve into this. This is a categorization that we have not seen before. And this is amazing because it's showing us what different companies are really doing in practical terms. So can you give us an example of some of the companies that are really in the trailblazers arena? What are they doing that is different, that is really powerful?
Yes, of course, and maybe I'll mention a couple of examples across, if that's okay with you, Sally, just to give some flavor on the change that's happening. So if we take, for example, determined learners, one of the practices there that is very powerful is companies that have made it a goal to have pay parity. They want to make sure men and women at every level, based on similar experience, are paid the same. Shalhoub Group is a great example of that. You probably all know them. Oh, great, they're here, woohoo! You've done an amazing job in terms of not only monitoring that and continuing to do so, but then taking that data and making changes to people's salaries and compensation based on that. It takes a lot of courage and maturity to be a company that says, I'll monitor and adjust accordingly. So Shalhoub has been a great example there. Neom is another example. They actually invested into building a full team that looks at diversity, equity, and inclusion. Not just for the company, but obviously for the cities of the future that they're building, because that's something that will affect, residences and people's urban experience as well. If we look at maybe a couple of other examples on trailblazers, Al-Ayan Group has a very developed, established senior development management program that's been doing incredible, and it helps women within the organization reach the top, which is one of the biggest challenges we have. Women join, but they don't stay to become leaders for many different reasons. So one thing they've done is really invested in that, and that's been a great trailblazer example as well.
And to that point, what do we need to do to make sure that when we do hire great women, that we make sure that they do go into, as you highlighted, they're not going into leadership positions. So what is the roadblock there, and how do we open that up so that we see more women in leadership?
I love that question, and I mean, obviously I can give you 10 different things you can do, but I'll inspire myself from Hoda Lawati, who's the founder of the first private equity female fund in the region, and is on one of the few female board members in Saudi on several boards. And what she said is, if you want women to stay and become leaders, there's 4 things you can do. You hire them, you invest in hiring, you invest in promoting them, you invest in their projects, so you actually put money behind women, whether it's investments, startups, etc. And you have amazing parental leave policies. Those 4 things are structural and will really make a difference. There's a lot of other things that help, but these 4 things will make a difference. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much, Anne-Laure. Thank you for flying in literally just to be here with us at the Forbes Women's Summit to give us this exclusive global preview of this amazing report. And we're excited to see the rest of the findings. It will be available as of tomorrow as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your patience after a long day.
Anne-Laure
Thank you.
Malauzat. Thank you.
Thank you.